This episode is brought to you by Tresta. Tresta is an app for iPhone and Android that lets you do business calling and texting from anywhere with no hardware, just the smartphone you're already using. Tresta is the best business phone app on the market, whether you're freelancing, working remotely, or running a small business. Growing your network and your business is all about communication. You've got to be available no matter where you are. Tresta offers the call management features that empower you to communicate smarter and more efficiently, like auto attendance, call recording, user groups, and more. Tresta is easy to configure so you can set everything up yourself, all online. Tresta's virtual phone system makes it easier and more affordable to set up a fully functioning mobile office. It's just $15 per user per month with no contract. So start your free 30-day trial today at tresta.com/frequency. That's www.tresta.com/frequency.
One Charlie. Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm full of optimism.
Einstein's theory of relativity.
we're still seeing it quite well through that haze. T-minus 37 seconds.
The fight is growing confident.
E equals MC.
That all men are created equal.
About the future innovations.
And growing strength in the air.
Tear down this world.
Something's happening coming up on station.
This is Finding Your Frequency with your hosts, Jeff Spinard and Ryan Treasure. It's time to speak up, share your voice, and hear from the thought leaders.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of Finding Your Frequency. I'm your host for the day, Ryan Treasure. I want to welcome you guys to the radio show. You know, finding your frequency is all about that, that turning point in one's life, that moment where you decide to step outside of your comfort zone and go off and, chase those dreams, write those books, start those companies, or in this particular case today, just change the way that your life is and change it for the better. We got a great story with our guest today, Teddy Lanier, who's going to be joining us today. Teddy was battling some addiction stuff, and so he did some things that a lot of military people do. They come home from being in the military and they self-medicate for post-traumatic stress and all the different things that they've gone through and the things that they've seen and all that kind of things. And so always love to hear stories of recovery. So we're going to talk about that today. Our guest, Teddy, is just a great guy all around, been in the military, serving 22 years, 10 years in the Army, 12 years in Special Forces, retired Master Sergeant Green Beret, and he's sharing his long-term recovery story to help fellow warriors. Lanier was deployed 5 different times to combat in Iraq and Afghanistan, and adjusting back to civilian life brought many challenges. Hey, welcome to the show, Teddy.
Brian, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate you having on. Like I was kind of mentioning in the beginning of the show, that finding your frequency is about that, right? How did you find your frequency? So I kind of want to kick off the interview and just kind of allow you a moment to tell us how you found your frequency in life and how did you end up where you are today?
It's funny. I think finding frequency in life for me can be defined in a couple different instances. I think we always find our frequency at certain times throughout our life. I think, however, there are definitive times where a definitive frequency has been found. From the beginning, standard stuff, growing up, graduating high school, joining the military, and I found it then. And things were great. One of the things that riddled me for a long, long time, like you had mentioned earlier in the introduction, was a dependence upon alcohol and drugs. And I will tell you, despite those two issues, throughout my entire life, professionally, I was always able to maintain, and it was the personal side of things that was difficult, and that defining moment. Eventually, when I talk about those two worlds colliding, the professional and personal life, that defining moment was in February of 2017, when I had to find that voice. I had to make that change. Those two worlds collided, and I knew that I simply could not go on. My professional record speaks for itself. Many accolades, many highs, few lows. But it was my personal side of things that was always, the secret we kept in the closet. And that can only go so long. So that definitive defining moment for me happened in about February of 2017. And that's when I finally decided to come forward and ask for help for a dependence upon drugs, alcohol, and some pretty bad psychological disorders.
Well, yeah, that had to be tough. I know a lot of veteran friends of mine, and some of the stuff that they went through in Afghanistan and Iraq and all that kind of stuff was, pretty harrowing stuff, man. I mean, lot of people under fire, and a lot of stuff, and a lot of times guys come back and they just don't know. They don't know what to do, and so they end up in the same scenario that you were in. Drinking alcohol, taking pills, or whatever the case may be, and sometimes it just takes. It takes a leap of faith sometimes to be able to dig down deep and just, remind yourself, because you know how military guys are, dude. We don't usually need help from anybody for nothing, and to make it that admission is probably the hardest step to recovery. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I will tell you this. I do believe that I was genetically predisposed to the disease of addiction and alcoholism. I do believe it is a disease. However, and it was something that followed me for years. But again, it was always that thing that we could maintain. It was expected in the work environment, beers after work. Opioids came around in the 90s, and opioids got a hold of me 3 different times. And finally, by the end of the 90s, I was hooked, and I stayed on them for about 17 years. As far as the combat aspect of things, war is horrible. It's exciting. There's a lot of horrible things that happen. And I will tell you this, dealing with some of the horrors of war, for the most part, I was fine. It didn't really bother me. You take the life of another human being, it's either you or them. And I made sure that I came home. And for the most part, that didn't bother me. However, there was 2 times in my career where life had to be taken that I didn't quite understand. And it frightened me. And I later found out it was 2 incidences that my brain just didn't simply know how to process, of which later on down the road, as I'd finished my career and ultimately I retired, you lose your tribe, you lose the teams, and then these thoughts come into your head. And those 2 instances used to haunt me. And there were things I just simply couldn't understand. So yes, absolutely. I would use, on top of what a normal person would do, I would actually take it to the extremes, and use as much alcohol and as much legal and illegal and illicit drugs as possible to cope with those things. I just simply didn't have the tools.
Yeah, and it's, one of the things I've noticed too is it's not like the United States military or the Department of Defense has, a whole bunch of working tools to help people out like that either.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that stigma, I think that's being fixed a lot more so nowadays than it used to be. I mean, like I think you said it just a while ago, the old adage was they suck it up and let's keep driving on. And that works. Don't get me wrong. That ideology does work. However, I think battlefields have changed. I think the exposure to certain things on a combat level have changed. And I think that is now starting to become recognized by the appropriate people to put certain things in place to treat and combat some of those psychological issues, as well as addiction and dependence on chemicals and alcohol.
Yeah, 100%. Before we started the interview, I was talking to you a little bit about my dad. My dad was in Vietnam, and my dad was a career Army guy too. He was in the Army for I think 24 or 25 years when he finally retired. But there was nothing for those guys when they came home from Vietnam. And you're talking about watching children get blown up and just some pretty gruesome stuff, and then coming home after fighting for your country for the hippies of the time to be upset at the members of the military for going and fighting a war that they were told to go fight, and then not having any infrastructure at home to deal with any of those post-traumatic stresses. And ever since that time period in the United States, if you go take a walk, outside in any urban area and you see a gentleman who's homeless, I have noticed that a lot of those guys are just like my dad. They're, older guys that are homeless that just never really found their their way. And, my heart goes out to everybody in those circumstances. And I would really like to see the government step up and, do something more for those people that came back from that war and give them some, some kind of hope. And I do see that, the VA hospital is making a few strides here and there and making things more available. One of my best friends came back from Afghanistan, and even though he was in the transportation division, you're in the Army, you're a rifleman first, so they go out on patrols and do those types of things as well. And he ended up getting hit with an IED and lost half of his unit, and still to this day it just really messes with him. And there was a time in his life where he was doing similar to you, was functional, come home from work, he's a master mechanic, so he'd go work on Humvees and whatnot as a civilian contractor during the day, and then come home, and then it was like that skeleton in your closet, you would pull it out, you start drinking, popping some Percocets or whatever the case may be. And it took him a good 2 or 3 years to finally figure out, similar to you, just to muster up the intestinal fortitude to say, hey, I got a problem and I need help. And I want to talk about that because I know that Warrior's Heart is something that really helped you. And I interviewed the founders of Warrior's Heart on another episode that we had done here. And, just the story of how it came about and why it's there was awesome. So let's talk a little bit about Warrior's Heart. And I'm going to kind of read their bio for those of you guys who may not have heard that episode. Warrior's Heart, their vision is to bring 1 million warriors home as the first and only private accredited treatment program in the United States for warriors only, military, veterans, first responders faced with self-medicating struggles, alcohol addiction, prescription drug addiction, PTSD, mild TBI, and other recurring issues. Other than the VA or Veterans Administration, there is nowhere else in the United States where warriors can go for residential treatment and be with their peers. And that's an important part, right? Because when you're with it's one thing to go get some help from being in addiction and you go to some state, county, local facility or whatever the case may be. But like you said earlier, you're not with your tribe. You're not with people that know what you've gone through and know what you've had to deal with. And knowing that the guy standing next to you, whether he was Navy, whether he was Marine or, Coast Guard or whatever the case may be, no matter what the military branch is, there's a connection that all veterans have that will never die. And that is, I think, some of the most important components about Warrior's Heart and why I think it's so helpful. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey with Warrior's Heart?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, it started I came forward in February 2017 and ultimately in April 16th of 2017, I laid the groundwork to get to Warrior's Heart. I had some very important people in my life, some private sponsorship and donorship stepped in on my behalf because at the time they were still about 1.5 years in their infancy. Nonetheless, I got down there, and I will tell you this. You said something very important about being able to relate to the clientele and veterans, and we all can relate to each other. I always start out with this, Ryan. The one thing that struck me the most was the first words out of the first person's mouth when I stepped on that property was "welcome home." And that's huge because I've talked about this before. I'd been home, and of course I'd been welcomed home. I got that. However, the manner in which they welcome you, they simply look at you, smile, they tell you welcome home, and they give you a hug. And I cannot tell you the feeling of elation that gave to me. And that's not a ding on friends and family in my hometown or in my home. It was just something on a different level. I'd finally felt that as hard as it was to ask for help, there was so many unknowns. And when you show up there, they welcome you home. And you're not chastised, and it's not a chore. It's not a process. It's you feel at home. For the first time in so many years, I finally felt at ease. But it was a lot of work. The cool thing is they treat everything. It's a combination of the addiction piece, mild traumatic brain injury type stuff, and PTS. You're assigned, or I was assigned a trauma counselor and a substance abuse counselor, and it was work. It's a very nice facility, but it was certainly no place that I was going to show up and prop my feet up and then, in my case, 8-9 weeks later, snap my fingers and all is good. It just doesn't work that way. You have to put in the work. And the great thing is you're finally exposed, or at least for me, I was exposed to tools and coping mechanisms that I never knew possible. I didn't even know about. And so you're given these things. And all the while, it's not like you're starting out on your own program. They put you in there with clients that have been there, that are currently working a program. So it's just like, being put into a military school or basic training or whatever the case may be. You're right there with your peers. Everybody's the same, whether they've been there for 2 weeks or a day. You're welcomed with open arms. But you got to get to work, because for me, it was a matter of life and death. Make no mistake about it. Absolutely.
And if there's one thing veterans and military people do better than everybody else, it's put in the work.
Yep. Yeah. It was a lot of late nights. And it was a lot of work. It was a lot of searching inside of yourself. It was a lot of brutal honesty. And I learned right quick, on top of drugs and alcohol and everything else and psychological, I'm a master manipulator. I'm a professional liar. And that lasted, I think, maybe 1 or 2 sessions. And my counselors were not scared to call me out on it. And when I say call me out on it, just like maybe a non-commissioned officer that was in charge of me years ago that was, stern and in my face, not in a threatening manner, but a stern and loving manner, because they get it and they want you to get it. And all you had to do was just the key for me was I had to keep my mouth shut and my ears open. And for the first time, listen to somebody that had something to say and to be honest about the way I was feeling about it.
Yeah. And I can only imagine too, if you have a 17-year addiction, you've done a lot of lying and manipulating over that time to hide and cover that up,
Absolutely. It's absolutely. Eventually, certain things stop working, and we jump up to the next level of drug of choice. And believe you me, I did them all, and I was able to do them all and maintain that because I was a master manipulator. I'd lie, I'd cheat, I would steal. I didn't care who you were. I'd smile on your face 1 minute, and if I could, I'd take your wallet. And I'm not embarrassed to admit that these days because it's the truth. I've realized now that to be honest about things gets a point across from which others may be scared to take that step when they hear it from somebody like me that's like, hey man, it's okay. I was that master manipulator. I'd rob you blind in a heartbeat, and it was solely driven on that next high.
Well, and how awesome is it to be able to go through the program and finally be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm not lying to myself anymore.
Absolutely. And that was the big thing. For the first time in my life, I was able to, to actually like what I see in the mirror, to love myself, because I hated myself for so long. Even to this day, it still amazes me, the transformation. I never thought in a million years that I'd make it a day, much less 3 years. But I'm telling you, man, if the work is put in, and we're willing to go to any lengths, there's nothing you can't do.
Well, I mean, it truly is one day at a time. I mean, you have to take that step at one day at a time. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that Warrior's Heart probably had, I know you had counselors and all those kind of things, but one of the things I really liked is how art therapy was helpful to you.
Dude.
Explain that to the listeners.
Oh, absolutely. Now, the art therapy, I think that's something that wasn't in play when it's something that there's now. Because again, I went about 1.5 years in their development, their beginning. But one thing they did have that was mandatory was yoga. Now I'm here to tell you, I'm 6'2", about 275 pounds. I'm a big dude. I don't do well with yoga. And I remember going, I'm not doing yoga. And here we go again. I'm trying to take my will back. And they're like, well, absolutely. Yes, you are going to do yoga. So, and I know there's some folks out there that'll hear this and say, Lanier did yoga, but I'm here to tell you, when I just again, shut my mouth and open my ears and listen to someone, it works. The yoga program, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the iron works. You can go down there and bang steel and make stuff out of iron and art, fishing, gardening. I mean, just all the electives that they have down there are amazing, because what it does is it tapped into me some talents that I never knew existed.
So what was one of those talents that you found out about that you didn't know that you don't now?
Working in the metal shop by far.
Okay.
I mean, turning a piece of metal into a piece of art. And for me, that's a good thing because, like so many others, both guys and gals, I had a lot of anger to work out. And I would take it to the metal shop and I would beat it out of a piece of iron. I'd heat it up and I'd beat it into a piece of art. I made tomahawks and some other pieces. There's a dentist down there that totally redid my teeth. Crystal methamphetamine had rotted them out. Totally redid my piece, so I made him some art. You know what I mean? So, I again, would never in a million years thought I would be making art, much less doing yoga, but I did them. Now, I really don't do too much yoga anymore these days, but the art piece is something that sticks with me. Every time I go down there about now, every 3 or 4 months, I'm on the Warriors Heart Board of Advisors for Warriors Heart Foundation. I go right back to that metal shop when I've got free time and I'll bang out some tomahawks. And of course, leave them there to be auctioned off at charity events or I make them as gifts. It's something that's stuck with me.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy that you found some solace in, in yourself, and you found some great help with Warriors Heart. And I mean, when I did the interview with those guys who founded Warriors Heart, I was just blown away, man.
Yeah.
I was just like, I wish that I would have known about this a long time ago, right? I could have sent some of my friends in that direction. I think that were dealing with some of their own vices and their own troubles. Yeah. And so, what are you doing? What are you doing now? Like, what's your day to day now?
I'm actually a government employee. I work on Fort Bragg at a shooting facility. I'm a shooting and urban warfare instructor.
Oh, that's awesome. That probably comes pretty natural for you.
Yeah, it was something that I got into. I retired in 2011. I contracted for about 4 years, and in 2015, a very dear friend of mine offered me a job there as a GS-11, and I took it. And to this day, I still work there, despite the fact that I had stepped forward and went away for a while to get fixed up. But my chain of command had 100% support for me during and since then, since does to this day.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I shoot guns and teach urban warfare for a living.
You and I could probably do an entire show just on that topic.
Yeah. It's funny. I liked it. It's funny. Talk about jobs and employment. I like that job. There was a time where I love the military and I love doing that job, and I still love to do a lot of things. But when it comes to that and working in the field of recovery or being involved with Warriors Heart, I like my job, but I absolutely love working in any capacity I can in the area or field of recovery, as well as being a member on the board of Warriors Heart Foundation. It is simply the most amazing thing I could have ever dreamed of being able to do.
Well, and I think you're uniquely positioned also because of your experience with Warrior Heart and still
Absolutely.
Your connection with the military that, you now have an outlet for other war fighters. You can go to them and say, hey, I see you struggling. I see this. You know, this is what I did, and share your story and give them some, a little bit of hope that they may not know that was there.
And Ryan, it's funny you should mention that happens. And again, not to go into specifics, but that does happen. And that was something that I knew that people above me took a chance on me and let me go away to get fixed. And I made a promise, not only to myself, but I made a promise to a lot of people. And sure, I could have shown up and said, hey, everything's great, but actions speak louder than words. And I made it my mission to maintain that certain standard of doing just that, proving that this indeed does work, and proving that, it's okay to take a chance on somebody like they did on me, because what I did is unheard of in the special operations community, at least for the most part. Again, it goes back to the suck it up, move out, drive on, or people just don't say nothing. So I think I might have broke the mold, especially where I work, when it comes to standing up and literally admitting to guys who I've known for many, many years my exact words were, guys, I'm a bona fide drug addict, alcoholic, and if I don't get help now, I might not live to see another day. I'll never forget that till the day I die. Those were my exact words when I came forth, admitted to having an issue. And it's just been a whirlwind ever since,
Are you having trouble finding hand sanitizer? Well, Spa Treat has you covered. There's no need to go searching high and low. Just visit spatreatofficial.com and place your order on their easy-to-use website. On-schedule delivery. One of the great things about this product, Spa Treat Fulfillment Team is working around the clock to provide people hand sanitizer during this time of need and get your order to you as quickly as possible, even faster than Amazon. Spa Treat also has the lowest price of any of its competitors. Spa Treat has 62% alcohol content, and the FDA recommends between 60 to 80 for maximum protection. This one has 62 because it doesn't dry your hands out. I use this stuff every single day. It is fantastic. It's got certified organic extracts with the ingredients in that hand sanitizer that are the highest quality, and they're designed to leave your hands smelling and feeling fresh while protecting you at the same time. The best part, there's no tricky residue left over. None of that sticky stuff. 4 scents available: unscented, tea tree, lavender, and lemon. And best of all, this product right here is made in the good old United States of America. A lot of companies are having trouble dealing with the current demands, so Spa Treat has dedicated themselves to providing a much needed product in the time of crisis. Spa Treat has better prices, faster shipping, and a larger supply than any of their competition. There isn't even a close second. Visit SpaTreatOfficial.com and enter promo code SPA SPA at checkout to receive 5% off your entire order. That's right. Not only are they offering the lowest price available, but they're also offering our listeners a discount. This promo code is exclusive to Voice America, and only our listeners get this discount. Spa Treat and Voice America came together on this sponsorship in order to provide Americans something they could really need right now: peace of mind. Visit SpaTreatOfficial.com and order yours today. That's SpaTreatOfficial.com, and make sure you use the promo code SPA at checkout to receive 5% off your entire order. SpaTreatOfficial.com. Get your awesome hand sanitizer. This is why I do this show. This is why I do Finding Your Frequency. I get to do 2 things. Number one, I get to learn. Right. I get to hear your guys' stories, guys and gals from all over, whether it's their story of how they, made it big in business, or, decided that they weren't going to, be a waiter or a waitress anymore and wrote a book that was a New York Times bestseller. But what I really take away from all of these conversations are, a whole bunch of awesome life lessons that I can apply, because my job is to raise my 6-year-old daughter to be an adjusted, great human being. And, when you have conversations with other people who have gone through so much strife, and you hear them, say words about, not lying to yourself, putting in the work, that your actions speak louder than your words. These are all things that I will take home and use in facilitating that, because my daughter is 6 years old and she has already let me know that she wants to go to the Air Force Academy. And I'm like, all right, well, if you want to go to the Air Force Academy, you're going to have to put in the work, because that is one of the most prestigious military colleges in the world.
Absolutely.
Right. Next to the Army's prestigious one as well.
Yep. Absolutely.
I mean, it's just like, do you have kids?
Yes, I do. I have 3 children. They are, my son is 18. My daughter is 20. Oh my gosh, she's going to kill me if I get it wrong. She's 25. And I have another son who will be 28 in August.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a 22-year-old son who's out of the house and already married and lives in Missouri. And then my 6-year-old daughter who's just rampaging around the house right now with all this COVID-19 stuff. She doesn't have enough stuff to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how are you paying it forward?
It's funny. We talk about, and that's big for me, paying it forward. I've always said that, who am I to keep this gift to myself? And that's the whole purpose of it, is to help as many as I can. And there's a lot of things that motivate me to do that. Number one, the ability, the chance that I was given to pay it back. Number two is when, I do a lot of speaking. I've spoken at conferences. I've spoken in prisons. I've gone to, I'm really big in Alcoholics Anonymous. I attend a lot of Narcotics Anonymous. And of course, I do a lot of traveling back down to Warrior's Heart, to where it all began for me. And all of that is again, it goes putting in the work while I'm in treatment. Now life happens. When I get outside of that comfort zone, when I get outside of the real world, now's when the real work starts. And what am I going to do? And I stay motivated by keep passing it forward. And I get my motivation from seeing that light turn on. If I'm speaking to somebody or helping somebody in need, and there's just that certain twinkle in their eye when they finally have reached that point and they're like, hey, I need some help. Or if I've been working, if I've been sponsoring a guy before, I've been working with him and he's going, he's working his own program of recovery. And eventually sometimes you see that light turn on, and it's like, hey, I by no means can say he or she will never do these things ever again, but you can see when that light switch comes on, and like, I think I'm starting to get this. Those are very huge motivating factors. I got under Warrior's Heart, and I did a couple of videos. I did a video at my first year of sobriety called Interview with a Retired Green Beret, Teddy Lanier. And I can't tell you how many people have contacted me, people I don't even know, that said, hey, man, I saw your video and I'm down here at Warrior's Heart. Or, hey, man, I saw your video and I'm starting to go here. Or I'm just contacted Warrior's Heart. Or, hey, I just want to talk to you, man, because I don't know where I'm at. Could you help me out? And I firmly believe that, my story was wrote a long time ago. And it's just become apparent to me now that I'm understanding the chapters. I feel it is my mission in life to continue this, to continue helping the next one, and doing everything within my power to do that.
Yeah, and you know what? Thank you for that. There's a lot of people that wouldn't go that far to help another person, and especially in the trying times that we're dealing with right now. Someone said something to me today. When the worst is happening to people, the best of people come out.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. That does.
Yep, I'm 100% proud to be an American. I'm proud to be in this country and be free, and all of those things, because I've been places where people are not free. And to be able to live here and have that opportunity is one of the most amazing gifts that God could ever give us.
No, absolutely.
I was reading here that you were on the Today Show, right?
Yeah, we did a piece. I think the Today Show does a series called GRIT. It's an acronym, I believe, GRIT.
Okay.
Not quite sure what it stands for. Maybe that's just a meaning. Anyways, there was some videos. I guess they had, from my understanding, several videos were submitted for this show. Mine, the YouTube video I did, Interview with the Retired Green Beret, was submitted. And apparently it was picked, and they chose me and Vonnie Nealon, the at the time lead clinician at Warrior's Heart, to actually attend the show. And I believe the topic was, again, just along the same lines as this, stories of hope. And I was very, very, very fortunate to get the spot. We did a live shoot on the Today Show, and it was met with some incredible success. I don't know exact numbers, but I do know the weekend prior to the show, I was down at Warrior's Heart filming some of the video footage. And I want to say that they were actually getting their phones looked at in the event that the phones would start ringing off the hook once this show had aired on the Today Show. And from my understanding, they did. There was a huge uptick in phone calls and interest into Warrior's Heart, as well as donations and people actually seeking treatment there. So it was great, and again, if it takes me to put my story on a nation or national platform, I'll do it. If it takes me to stand out in the middle of the street and talk to one person, I'll do it. There's absolutely no one or an audience I will not tell my story to. It's free for the taking. I'll tell anybody. That's awesome. And again, the result is somebody, might live instead of die if they hear what I've got to say. And that's all I care about. I just want to help the next person. I want to do the next right thing. I want to help as many as I possibly can, no matter the platform.
That's amazing. I work with a radio show here called Landmark Recovery, and it's a show that I produce. So I want to set you up with those guys too, because they're huge in the recovery area, and I think that would be a great platform also for you to tell your story. But if you had a group of people in front of you right now that were not able to fess up to the fact that they are drug addicts or alcoholics, what's some advice that you would give them to help them to stop lying to themselves so they can get some help?
There is hope. No matter how hopeless you feel, no matter how hopeless the situation, I can assure you for 100% that there is and will always be hope. And if I have to be that hope for either that particular person or that group of people, then I will. And I will be that hope so as to show them exactly how to find that hope themselves.
Very well said. Very well said. So when's the next time you're headed down to Warrior's Heart to go bang some steel?
I actually had to cancel a trip in March because of they put there's a travel restriction for DOD civilians, which is what I am. And that just got extended for a little while. So I'm probably thinking it's probably going to be the end of the summer, maybe first of fall before I get down there. I hate to say that because I love going down there. I mean, I go down there and I work with the foundation, but I also go down there and still get counseling and therapy. I still know the counselors down there and all that. So I miss it. I love going down there. So I believe, unfortunately, it probably won't be till the end of summer before I can get back down there.
Oh yeah, the Yale government wants to keep you where you are in case they need you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my friend who's a civilian contractor for the Army who, like I was telling you, he works on Humvees still, and that's what they did. The base is like closed. The 52nd Street Armory that he works out of here for the Arizona National Guard, and that's what they did. They're like, we're just sending you home. So he's furloughed, just sitting at home with 4 kids. He's a single dad, 4 kids, and just a whole mountain of time on his hands with nothing to do. So now, I went over his house this weekend. And he's like, I'm building a Corvette.
Yeah, it's been interesting. So I tell you, I practice precaution. I abide by the rules, but I still go out and do what I got to do, but I'm just a little more cautious these days, I guess. But it's been a bit trying, but we figure out what to do to stay entertained. That's for sure.
So are you like wearing masks and all that stuff when you go out in public?
No, I'm not. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not giving into the fear narrative or the panic narrative. I don't wear a mask. I don't wear gloves. But again, I practice caution. I stay at home like I'm supposed to. I follow the one-way arrow in the grocery store, as much as I hate to admit it, but I do. It's just doing the right thing. But we try to minimize exposure as per order of the stay-at-home orders and all that stuff. Again, I might not like it and I might not agree with it, but it's not my choice. It's something that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, no, I think that, this whole scenario has been challenging and trying on everybody. I think my wife and my daughter have not, they maybe left the house to go to the grocery store or something like that, but I think they haven't gone or done anything for almost 60 days.
Yeah.
And I'm still commuting back and forth to the studio, right? Because our network is a news talk organization, and so there's a lot of our shows, especially on like the Health and Wellness channel, that are interviewing high level doctors, nurses, people on the front lines of the whole thing, and we're just out here trying to get the information out. And man, is it just it's saturated. There's so much content around all this because it's been going on for for so long. It's just been challenging. What is one of the biggest challenges that you have had during this whole thing?
Well, just like I said, following the rules. We talk about my personal will got me into treatment, and if I'm not careful, trying to take my will back to do what Teddy wants to do can get me in trouble as well. So having to learn to, again, like I said earlier, if I have to go to the grocery store, follow the one-way arrows in the aisles, stuff that I'm not used to, that I don't like and I don't agree with, but I have to do it. And that's been a challenge for me, following the rules, if you will. And I'm a lot better at it nowadays than I used to be. And like I think you mentioned the traveling piece, not that I travel exponentially, but I do like to go here and there. Had to tone that down a little bit, having to deal with my son, who's 18 years old, who's always on the go with his buddies, trying to find that common ground with him, not to keep him totally locked down, but not letting him run amok. That's been challenging.
That's been my biggest challenge with a 6-year-old who lives at home and has no, like, her older brother, like, she barely even remembers him, like, other than when he got married last year and we went out to Missouri, and she was 5 when that happened, and so then she was able to, get to meet it was like she was meeting her brother for the first time because she was so young and so so distant, and so now we have. We don't have any other kids at the house, so my poor daughter's just there bugging the crap out of my wife because there's no one else to play with. And I finally broke down a couple days ago. She's like, "Can I go ride my bike?" And I'm like, "Yes, you can go ride your bike." I said, "If you're gonna ride with the neighbor," she's got a couple of neighbor friends, and I'm like, "You guys can ride bikes together. Don't swap bikes. Don't get too close to each other. And here's a bottle of hand sanitizer. I put it in a spray bottle and put it in her pocket."
Yeah. My son wants to go fishing, and we can watch him on Life 360. It's an app on our telephones. So and I know who he's with. I know what that individual's parents expect of him. So and we can travel. They go straight to the fishing pond. They come straight back. So just finding that common ground to obviously to follow the rules, but also to give him just a little bit of freedom instead of total lockdown. And so far, it's worked out really well. He's a great young man, and my wife and I are able to tackle that together. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I like tinkering. I like tinkering around the house and doing little house projects. And so this last weekend, I'm coming in and out of the garage door that goes into the house. And my wife goes, "Do you notice what's wrong with that doorknob?" And I went, "What? Something's wrong with the doorknob?" "Oh, really? Oh, yeah. You mean I got to go to Home Depot and get a new doorknob?" I was like all exexcited because I got to leave to go do something that was essential. I felt like, okay, I got to fix the doorknob.
Exactly. Oh, I get you, man. I get you.
I had this store credit in my wallet for like 5 months for Home Depot, and I was like, I get to use my store credit. It's not even. I feel like I'm getting this part for free.
Absolutely. Oh, no, I totally get it, man.
Yeah, it was weird too. I don't know about how you guys are handling it in Louisiana, but I go to Home Depot and there's a line around the building with little X's with 6 feet apart in order to get in, and they got monitoring the total number of people that are in the store, and I hadn't really been out. My wife's has been home, so if we needed groceries or something, she would just go do that while I was at work, and so I hadn't actually experienced waiting in line or being 6 feet apart or any of that kind of stuff. So it was a shocker to me for sure.
Yeah, here in North Carolina, it's the same thing. I use Lowe's a lot, and they got the stickers on the 6 feet away. And like I said, all the aisles in the grocery stores have a one-way sign. You can only travel in one direction down the aisles, and so it sounds about the same, just about.
Oh, one-way aisles! I haven't seen that yet. I'm gonna have to go. I have to go to the grocery store just to experience it, I guess.
Yeah, it's enter in one side of the store, exit the other. Some I've seen where they've got aisles kind of roped off, or a walkway kind of roped off, and it leads you into the aisles, and one direction down one aisle, opposite direction the other aisle. So it took a little bit getting used to, I must admit.
I wonder in February of 2021 how many COVID-19 babies are going to be.
I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of them.
Like, I've been in the house for 90 straight days.
Absolutely.
Teddy, we really appreciate you being on and telling your story. I mean, 22 years in the military, 12 years in special forces, being a Green Beret, that means a lot to me. As I told you, my father was a Green Beret. So, much respect to you for the service that you provided to our great country. And even more respect to you for being able to step up out of your comfort zone and summon the intestinal fortitude to step out of your comfort zone, do something different, try. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, Ryan, and I appreciate you guys having me on. And like I said earlier, I just realized now that my story was wrote many years ago, and now I'm just figuring out the chapters. So I couldn't be more excited, and I look forward to any opportunity out there. And I look forward to maybe speaking to you again in the future. And I wish you all the best of luck as well, sir.
Yeah, and I think we should definitely have a radio show about shooting guns. I'm sure that we could have a great one on that one. I'm an avid 3-gun shooter myself. Love to do 3-gun coursework, and absolutely enjoyed talking about that too. And but I want to remind everybody too to make sure that they go to warriorsheartfoundation.org. Warriors Heart is a 501c3 nonprofit. People can donate to help fund military veterans and first responders seeking treatment who can't afford to pay insurance copays or are seeking a scholarship. So I want to make sure to remind all of our listeners to get out to warriorsheartfoundation.org and donate some money to help out our warfighters who are in a similar scenario as Teddy. Obviously you guys heard this story. You heard what Teddy had gone through. You see where he's at now and all of the help that Warriors Heart was able to give him. So, you guys can do your part to pay it forward by helping out Warriors Heart Foundation at warriorsheartfoundation.org, and help another gentleman just like Teddy to end up in a place where now Teddy is, to be able to speak on stages, to be able to help people, to be able to get that word out there and really, have a living testament to what the possibilities are extremely important. So thank you, Teddy, for allowing yourself to be exposed in that manner and tell your story, because I know in the beginning of this whole scenario it probably was not easy.
I made a promise to myself, and I made a promise to Josh and Lisa, of which you've interviewed, that I was going to pay this back and pay it forward, and that has been my goal, like I said earlier, and it will continue to be until up until with my last breath. Period.
Well, I want to thank you for tuning in to Finding Your Frequency. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check us out on all podcast platforms. We're everywhere. Give us 5 stars because it's way better than 4, and I think we deserve it. Give us those 5
Absolutely.
stars. If you guys have any items you would like me to talk about on the show, please email us, info@voiceamerica.com. And of course, you can follow everything on our Finding Your Frequency Facebook page. You can find all the promos for the shows there. And of course, me on Twitter @RadioRyan1, and then follow the network @VoiceAmericaTRN. And I'm going to tell you guys again, get on over to Warriors Heart Foundation and go give them a donation. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, warriorsheartfoundation.org. Go give them some bucks so they can help more people. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Finding Your Frequency right here on the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And we're going to have some more fantastic content coming at you in the next episode, so stay tuned for that. Bye for now.